My boyfriend and I were sitting in a restaurant. Jean gallantly filled my glass and then suddenly pointed the camera at me and lifted the dough. I almost threw up. The plate was crawling with cockroaches. Jean whispered, "Eat them." I hesitated and couldn't make up my mind. They were moving. And suddenly the woman at the next table, seeing the cockroaches, screamed. We were immediately captured by the guards. I tried to pull away, and John was yelling that I'd ruined the prank. At this rate, I would never save up for my mom's treatment. A lump rose in my throat. After my dad cheated on my mom, she started having heart problems. Now she needed an expensive surgery. I was the only one who could help. I took any part-time job, but it wasn't enough. That all changed when I met John in college. He was the most popular guy in our year. All the girls were crazy about him, but John chose me. We had a relationship like in the movies. Even when John found out about my situation, he did not turn away, but offered to shoot pranks with him. If we became well-known bloggers, money would flow. Since then, we had been constantly shooting for TikTok and YouTube. We wrapped toilet paper around the campus or put rats in the chemistry room. It was terrible, but John kept saying it was all for popularity. In the end, I always agreed with him. Once we even dressed up as homeless people and went to a jewelry store. The seller tried to serve us, but then got angry. We barely got away from the cops, which she called. After this prank, we were massively subscribed to. The audience liked it. Soon I had my first money. But I didn't think it would end up with prison. John was yelling that I'd ruined everything. I shrank back against the wall in fright. He had never treated me like this before. But while we were being driven to the station, John calmed down and then gently stroked my cheek and apologized. I smiled. "It's all right, honey. I understand." We were in the cell for about 5 hours. I couldn't stop thinking about my mother. She probably was worried. But then the door opened and a cop yelled that we'd been bailed out and we were free. Wait, but who did it? The cops said to hurry up. Somebody was waiting for us in the lobby. Looked at each other. We went there and immediately noticed a man in an expensive suit. With a grin, he introduced himself as Buddy. It turned out that he was in the restaurant and saw our prank with cockroaches, and he thought it was funny and brave. But why did he decide to release us? And suddenly Buddy said mysteriously that he had a special offer for us. Can we discuss it over a cup of coffee? He chuckled. I whispered to John that this guy was suspicious, but John had already told Buddy that he agreed to everything. Then he said, "Don't you want to help your mother?" We went to a coffee shop nearby. Buddy gave us an arrogant look that sent a chill down my spine and said he was planning a huge prank. It turned out that he had been following our channel for a long time and realized that we were a perfect match. And what was the prank? Buddy grinned. We were supposed to be at the bank at 6 this evening. Was that all? But he added that it was not that simple. I had to become a dog. What did he mean? Buddy explained I would be in a dog suit and John would lead me to the bank on a leash. I slumped back in my chair. Why would you do that? Then Buddy calmly said that this was just a protest against the ban on coming to the bank with animals. "I'll give you $5,000 each for this." Buddy finished. John's eyes lit up immediately, and I knew he was about to agree. I immediately pulled him back. "John, why don't we talk this out?" We moved aside, and I immediately blurted out that being a dog on a leash was humiliating. It was some kind of slavery and belittled the rights of women, and not a fun joke at all. But then John looked at me in the eye and said it would be alright. With this money, I could cure my mother, and we would have some left for a good life. I got little butterflies in my stomach. "Yes, John, you're right, as always." We went to Buddy and said we agreed. He immediately gave us a part of the advance and money to buy a leash and a collar. He also added that we could keep the change. With that, we said our goodbyes. I looked at the money and didn't believe it was true. I suggested to John that we celebrate at my house, but he said he'd better go get the leash. "Okay, I'll see you tonight." But as soon as I went home, I immediately felt something was wrong. The apartment was suspiciously quiet. I rushed into the bedroom, where my mom lay motionless on the bed. "Mommy, what's wrong with you?" She said the cops called her and told her about our arrest. It made her feel worse. Mom asked me if I couldn't see John manipulating me. "Because of him, you even stopped communicating with your friends," my mother said. I was getting tired of explaining to her that John was just very worried and forbade to go out without him. I took out the money. We can have the surgery soon, and it's all thanks to John. Suddenly, Mom turned pale and clutched at her heart. For a second, I froze in horror. God, what have I done? I ran over and took the last pill out of the pack with trembling hands. Mom, hold on. She swallowed it hard and whispered to me to leave John. He was a dangerous man. I would find out soon enough. I didn't dare protest. All I said was that she needed some new pills, and I would go get them now. I got to the pharmacy quickly, and as I was leaving with the drugs, I suddenly noticed John on the other side of the street. What's he doing here? Then Buddy came to him. They went together to a cafe nearby. Strange. Why would John go out with Buddy without me? I pulled my hood up and followed them in. I need to find out what's going on. They sat down at a table not far from the bar. I quickly sat down at the bar, shaking with tension. I hoped they wouldn't notice me. I listened. Oddly, John spoke to Buddy as if he were an old acquaintance. This little fool always listens to me and won't guess anything. Today we were going to rob the bank. John said solemnly, "Wait, this is a joke, right?" But Buddy nodded and said that while everyone was staring at my stupid dog costume, he would sneak into the vault. John laughed unpleasantly, and then I realized John and Buddy wanted to use me. I couldn't believe it. John was my boyfriend. He only shot harmless pranks, not robbing banks. I was in so much pain. I immediately jumped up and ran for the exit. And then the waitress turned a corner. We ran into each other. The tray fell to the floor, and everyone stared at us. My stomach went cold with horror. I looked around. John and Buddy were already on their way to me. Oh my god. I quickly ran out of the cafe. My heart was pounding, but I couldn't stop. John knew I heard everything. At that moment, I was grabbed and a hand clamped over my mouth. I started to kick, but John was so much stronger. He dragged me somewhere. No, let go. But he just shoved me into the car. I was shaking. "John, why are you doing this to me?" He laughed. He never gave a damn about me. He just could make good money on such a fool on TikTok. But now he was going to hit a really big jackpot. I looked away to hide my tears. "No, I will not participate in the robbery." Then John grabbed me roughly by the chin and told me that I would be his slave not just today, but for the rest of my life, if I don't want anything to happen to my mom. At that moment, Buddy came. He opened the door and reached for me, a metal collar in his hand. "Let me go, you idiot!" I struggled and screamed, but John held me tight, and Buddy put the collar and the muzzle on me to keep me quiet. Soon we were at the bank. John pushed me out of the car and led me on the leash to the bank. I felt terribly broken, but I thought one thing. I needed to stop them. John took me to the bank and immediately shouted, "Freedom to the animals!" I wanted the ground to swallow me up when everyone looked at us. What a shame. The guard came towards us. Then I saw Buddy at the end of the room, and the chill went through me. No, I won't be a slave. I'll save the people, and then I'll get my mom out of town right away. John will never find us. I exhaled and made up my mind. "Mom, you'll be proud of me soon." Then I abruptly pulled off the muzzle and shouted that it was a robbery. I hoped that Buddy would be captured immediately, but instead there was a commotion. The guards looked around in confusion. "Come on, catch the robber!" But suddenly they grabbed us and dragged us to the exit. "No, you don't understand. Buddy is the robber. He's there." But the guards wouldn't listen. At that moment, Buddy, who was lurking at the cash register, gave a smug wink. John hissed that I'd messed it up again. No way! I stepped hard on the guard's foot, and he let me go for a second. That was enough. I immediately rushed back. Buddy was already threatening the terrified employee, and she was putting money in his bag. "You will answer for everything." I ran up and jumped on his back. I needed to give time for the employee to call the police. Buddy tried to throw me off, but I held on tight. But suddenly Buddy spun around, and I fell to the floor and hit my head. The last thing I heard was the sound of police sirens. I woke up with a terrible headache. I looked around and realized that I was in a hospital room. My God, John was sitting on the next bunk. Looking at me straight, he told me that Buddy was behind bars and that we were considered heroes. Suddenly, John leapt up to me and pinned me against the wall. He hissed at me not to turn him in. I remembered what he said, didn't I? Of course, and threats and blackmail. I was John's plaything from the start, but I had to get stronger to understand that. Instantly, I grabbed a leash and wrapped it around John's arms. He didn't even have time to recover. Security! Over here! I'm not John's doggy anymore, and I won't let somebody push me around. A month later, John was put in jail. He glared at me all through the trial, but I was calm. The fear of John was gone, as was the love. And then, on the city day, I got a bonus for helping the police. My mom was so proud of me. The money was enough for the surgery, and now I was calm. I remembered the story with a smile now. I learned not to be manipulated and to rely only on myself. And once again, I was convinced that honesty is the main thing of wealth. Did you like the video? Subscribe and like it. Support the channel. Thank you.
Mom screamed that I was a fraud and threatened to call the police, and I couldn't stop crying. Mommy, don't you recognize me? It's me, Rachel. I wanted to explain everything, but Dad threw me out. I slowly sank down on the asphalt. It was all over. A couple of weeks ago, my life was perfect. I lived in a huge mansion. My parents would do anything for me, and in college, I was the soul of the company. I even had a boyfriend, Kurt. But all this was not enough. I always wanted to be a famous blogger. It's so cool to be recognized. To travel, I even tried to start my own blog. But in vain. After all, I never was the first beauty. And bloggers should be just perfect. For example, Fire Girl or blogger Alice Moore. She constantly did plastic surgery, said that in the world appearance was everything. A girl should have big lips, a small nose, and a slender figure. Only then could she achieve something. That evening, it dawned on me. The reason for my failures was my appearance. I looked at myself in the mirror for a long time. I had a snub nose and my body was not that great. No, I needed to fix it. Otherwise, I would never become a blogger and would not fulfill my dream. And some beauty could take my boyfriend Kurt away. There was only one solution, plastic surgery. But as soon as I told my parents about my idea, they said that nothing should be changed. Don't you understand? I need this surgery. I'm a freak. But my parents were adamant. They would not give money for such nonsense. For the first time, my folks did not fulfill my whim. I burst into tears and ran to my room. I spent most of my night crying, and in the morning, I looked terribly tired. The reflection in the mirror only made me feel worse. No, I would do the surgery, whether the parents wanted it or not. And then they would realize their mistake. It remained only to figure out where to get the money for the surgery. I wouldn't have enough pocket money, and I didn't work a day myself. Therefore, there was only one solution. Steal from my parents. Beauty demands sacrifice. After waiting until my parents woke up and went to breakfast, I quietly made my way to their bedroom and turned the handle. My heart was pounding. But there was no turning back. I crept to my parents' safe and with trembling hands, dialed the code, my date of birth. I learned it as a child. But for some reason, the safe did not open for a long time. The day changed the code, and then there was a click. Whew. Quickly taking out the necessary amount, I slammed the safe and ran out into the corridor. I hid the money in the lining of my backpack and left the house. I went to the clinic for a consultation. The surgeon took into account my wishes to change my face completely, to do liposuction, and said that the surgery could be done tomorrow. I almost jumped with happiness, so fast. But then he added that I needed the consent from my parents. What? I was not going to give up my goal and promise to bring the consent the next day. In the dead of night, I crept to my parents' office and quietly opened the door. They kept all the documents there. I just needed to forge a signature. But I was terribly worried. What if they caught me? I would never do the surgery. Without breathing, I made my way to their desk and pulled out a drawer with documents. I tried several times to forge the signature in the documents, but my hands, as luck would have it, did not give in. And then suddenly someone turned on the light in the hall. My heart sank. No, because of the adrenaline, I suddenly forged the signature perfectly. Heck, I had to hurry. Throwing the documents back into the drawer, I hid the consent under my t-shirt and pressed myself against the wall. Someone froze right in front of the door. I held my breath. If only it would work. Then I heard retreating footsteps, and the light in the wall went out. Whew, the danger was over. But as soon as I got out of the office, my sleepy mom appeared around the corner. She asked me why I wasn't sleeping. A chill ran down my spine. I swallowed and replied that I wanted to drink some water. and then I quickly went to my room. Everything was ready. Tomorrow, I would be a different person. In the morning, instead of college, I went to the clinic. My dream was about to come true. Before the surgery, I was put under anesthesia, and then I didn't remember anything. As soon as I woke up in the ward, I was already covered in bandages and had a headache. I tried to call the nurse, but my voice was very hoarse. I texted Mom that I would stay with a friend for a week or two. Mom was outraged that I didn't warn her in advance, but at least she believed me. I was discharged a week later. My voice remained hoarse. The doctor forbade me to remove the bandages for another couple of hours. I still wanted to see my new face, but I wanted to go home even more. I went home beaming with happiness, but I saw police cars at the house. My heart sank. What happened? I went on. But at the entrance to the house, the guard refused to let me pass. Hey! Did you want to lose your job? But he was adamant that I clenched my fists and, waiting for the moment, abruptly rushed into the house. There were a lot of policemen inside. They were searching the room. I didn't understand anything. My head was spinning. I saw my parents at the end of the corridor and ran to them. Mom, Dad, what's going on? They looked at me somehow incredulously, as if they didn't recognize me. What's going on? It's me, your daughter. But now I am beautiful. To confirm my words, I took off the bandages. See? But at that moment, a policeman took them away to question them about the theft of money. I followed them to explain, but suddenly my dad told me that they didn't have time to communicate with strangers right now and asked the guards to take me out of the house. The guard threw me out like a scoundrel. I was desperate, and I didn't know where to go. I ruined everything. But then I remembered my friends. They loved me, and they would definitely recognize me. But they didn't let me into the college either. I had to wait at the exit. When I saw my friends, I immediately called out to them. Hey, it's me, Rachel. They just laughed, and then I decided to make a joke. They would definitely remember my signature jokes. But instead, they snorted. Your jokes are stupid, just like Rachel's. That is mine. They went to a cafe together and said, it's a pity that there is no Rachel. She would have paid for our order. Tears welled up in my eyes. All this time, they were friends with me for money? I couldn't believe it. But suddenly I noticed Kurt at the entrance. He should definitely recognize me. I ran up to him and explained in tears that I had done plastic surgery and now no one would recognize me. Kurt gave me a look and said that Rachel's appearance was much better than this. You're just like everyone else, he said and laughed. I was desperate. I had nowhere to live, and I had to go to a social center. But I decided that since I was beautiful now, I would start a blog. I would fulfill my dream. I started posting stories on Instagram about beauty and plastic surgery, but there were no subscribers. I didn't understand what was going on. After all, I had a perfect appearance. Wasn't that enough? Then I decided to somehow take advantage of the beauty and went to a model casting. I was sure that I would easily get on the podium. But as soon as I entered the studio, an employee said that my appearance was too standard and they needed individuals. I was in so much pain. Everything I believed in turned out to be false, and at that moment, Mom called me. I picked up the phone with shaking hands, and when I heard her voice, I couldn't help myself. I want to go home. I told the whole truth about the surgery and the theft of money and quietly added, you may not believe me, but I can confirm that I am your daughter. When I came home, my parents looked at me incredulously, as if I was a fraud. Their gaze hurt me more, but I pulled myself together and dialed a code on the safe, which only our family knew. The door opened, and then Mom threw herself on me with hugs and kissed me on the cheeks, crying and apologizing for not believing me right away. I cried and asked for forgiveness for stealing the money. I just wanted to fulfill a dream. My parents were not angry with me, but just hugged me. The main thing was that everything was fine with me. They loved me in any form and condition. That was the most important thing. Standard appearance, a raise for subscribers. This was not what I wanted. Being myself was so much better. My parents gave me money for a new surgery. I got my old face back. After my parents found out about my dream of becoming a blogger, they gave me an idea. So I started an Instagram blog about love for myself and my body. I helped people accept themselves, and thanks to my hard work, I gained subscribers. Soon, their number exceeded 1 million. And I didn't communicate with my friends and Kurt anymore. I found real friends in the blog. And my dream finally came true, but not in the way I expected. Did you like the video? Subscribe and like it. support the channel. Thank you.